Hey, what's up, Raider Nation? How'd you like that game last night? Houston laid the smackdown on Rodgers and the Steelers. Metcalf came back from that 2 week suspension, and he was rusty and dropping balls, and that was that. I mean, I called it, yesterday. I said that was one of my picks, and even though Houston was going into Pittsburgh, I just had a feeling that that defense would just be too much for Rodgers. I mean, their offense didn't look great, and they gave the Steelers so many opportunities, but um, ultimately, even though Rodgers, I think, still has it with his passes, with his passing, he's not mobile enough to get away from danger, right? So that defense was just way too much for Rodgers. Now, going back to the upcoming draft, you hear it more and more. I think there's a real possibility that we trade out of the number one spot. I don't agree. I hate it, which I'm sure most of Raider Nation does not want to hear. There's so much benefits to drafting Mendoza, um, not just from a football standpoint of him being, I think, the best player, best quarterback on the board, but also just from a business and sales standpoint. That Mendoza jersey will be the number one in sales. I'm pretty sure. And if Mark Davis, if you want to black out Allegiant Stadium, you get Mendoza. I'm telling you, you will see those jerseys everywhere. It is just the right move for every reason, for football reasons, because we will be eventually be a winner, I believe, if we build around Mendoza. But man, let's get the Raider fans in the house. I really, really, you know, want it to feel like Oakland. I know it can never feel like Oakland, but this is where we're at. We're in Vegas. We have a nice stadium, and we just need to we need to get that home field advantage, and Raider Nation really needs to show up, and I think this would be a great way to get everyone excited. Um, so we had 5 head coach interviews last week, and I think right now we're at 6 requested. So, um, again, I'm not going too much into this. I just think that we need a young OC as our head coach, and trust the process. Put that coach on a 6-year deal. Remember Gruden 2.0, right? Um, it didn't work right away. The first 2 years we were trash, right? But it didn't feel as urgent as it does now. We were trash, and that third year, when Gruden got screwed by the NFL and he stepped down, we were in the playoff. Well, we were in the wild card game against Joe Burrow and the Bengals. I know Gruden was already gone by that time, and Bisaccia had to step in and take over, but Gruden built that team and led us, to the playoffs. So, we need that again, because at least for me, those first 2 years were rough with Gruden, but I did not feel the way I've felt lately, with McDaniels and Carroll. I didn't feel like it was the end of the world. I knew we were going somewhere. We were building something. So we really need to get our head coach, and we need to trust his process. Um, Hold on to him, and then groom Mendoza, and eventually we will be winners. But that's what we need to do. We can't hire and fire every year. That's another reason why I'm happy that we're holding on to Spytech, because we get rid of him, then we're building from scratch again. So let's get that head coach, young offensive minded head coach. Let him bring in his coordinators. Let him groom Mendoza. Have the same people drafting every year, and eventually, hopefully sooner than later, we will be a winner again. But this is our opportunity to have a fresh start. Um, I was excited for the college national championship, so I kept saying it was this Monday. It's actually next Monday, as you know. Um, I just really want to see what Mendoza, does. I also want to see Miami, just from I guess, a scouting standpoint, right? Just so we know what kind of players to look out for in the draft from the Miami side. But I'm still sticking with Indiana, like everyone. I mean, I think they're gonna put the whooping on Miami. So, and that's good. That increases Mendoza stocks even more. Um, some surprising news: the Chargers are firing offensive coordinator Greg Roman, which is surprising to me because he's a longtime collaborator with Harbaugh, even back in their Niner days. I mean, it doesn't bother me, that things are happening with the Chargers. I don't want to see them do well. So, but it was surprising to see that Roman's gone, and I even mentioned that yesterday. People are going to be in the hot seat, with the Chargers. I mentioned that it could possibly be Harbaugh soon, or even Harbaugh looking for a new quarterback to replace Herbert. But there you go. That's one of the first dominoes to go, right? Roman. I'm sure that was a hard fire for Harbaugh, but it's either someone has to go, right? They need someone to be the sacrificial lamb for their for the lack of success. For the teams that you see on paper seem to be really good teams, but every time they go to the playoffs they choke, and that's okay. They could keep on choking, right? um Tomlin could be on the market after stepping down today. We'll see if he, decides to be a commentator or if he decides to be a head coach. I think wherever he goes, he's going to do great, whether it's commentating or as a head coach. I don't think he's the right head coach for us in the situation we're in right now, but I think he could go to a team that's another team, and I think he would do well. Um, I don't think anyone could do well in Cleveland, so I don't think he'll be going to Cleveland, but I know wherever he goes, he's going to do well. And that's just Pittsburgh's just another great example of just doing things the right way. You get your coach, you trust the process, um, and that's how you start winning, and that's how the team finds their identity. I believe it is through the head coach. Um, and I mean, Tomlin was there for 19 seasons. That's someone could be someone that's listening's lifetime, right? And probably doesn't even remember the Bill Cowher days. And then I saw this crazy stat that, you know, the Pittsburgh are looking for their fourth head coach since 1969. Can we get that kind of stability? I would love that. Can we find the coach that's our head coach for the next 5 or 10 years? That would be great. So this is our opportunity to start fresh. We can do this. Let's get this quarterback. Let's get this head coach and try to build something like that where we're in the playoffs. We're in talks to be contenders every single year. I know it could take probably a couple rough seasons, but if it's building towards something, I'm with it. What are your thoughts, Raider Nation? Please, subscribe. Another thing that I haven't mentioned in a while, I highly, highly encourage you to become a member with the Black Hole. This is not a paid advertisement. I'm just giving a shout out to my Raider Nation family. Especially if you're going to games or you're planning your first game, it's very beneficial with the perks. You're always in the know, right? Like, okay, I'm going to Vegas on Friday. What's going on from now until the game, and then what's going on after the game. Um, there's cool merchandise, but it really just keeps you in the know. If you're a Raider fan, you bleed silver and black like me, I would join because it really is a family. I mean, we see these guys at the parties and at all the events, at the tailgates, and we all know it's just like we're seeing our family when we go to these events. So I encourage you to do that. Um, just leave your thoughts, Raider Nation. Leave your comments, and I'll make sure to get to it. And yeah, I hope you have a good rest of your Tuesday, Raider Nation. Peace out.